following announcement has been paid for by the
Mark Order.
Hey, this is JayV of the Elite Mark Order, and welcome to podcast number 11, where we will talk about AEW Dynamite number 176. Remember that number because this is a legendary Dynamite that people will be talking about for years. This show came to us from Laredo, Texas, with one of the hottest crowds I have ever seen, and the date of the show was February 15th, 2023.
And
so the show opened
and I'm
with
Cosmic Scott. I'm here too.
Cosmic Scott is also joining us tonight. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks. I feel really welcome.
So the show opened with Billy Gunn, Orange Cassidy, and the Acclaimed versus Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, my boy Satnam Singh, and Sanjay. What'd you think of the opener?
So first of all, Satellites Unite, Big Hand Gang, collect. The fact is, it was Jeff Jarrett. You never bet against Jeff Jarrett, and of course he lost. Right. So you always have to know he's going to lose, even though they did the graphic for his dad. He's putting on a big show for his dad just died, and he's still going to wrestle. Yet Mark Briscoe still riding the wave of his brother dying. He hasn't lost. So I don't get it. What's with the Jeff Jarrett hate? Why you got to hate on Jeff Jarrett and got to get him to lose? I mean, sure, they pinned Sanjay Dutt, the big loser who was in there just to get pinned. He took like 4.5 minutes on his back as everybody and their brother teased doing the Shiver Me Timbers until ultimately Anthony Bowens finally did the Shiver Me Timbers. But still, you're telling me that...
I believe it's Scissor Me Timbers.
Yeah, okay, whatever. You're telling me that they still had Jeff Jarrett lose even though his dad just died? Come on, what's with the Jeff Jarrett?
You really have to question Tony's booking here. Not only there's no excuse for Jarrett to ever lose. I mean, Slapnuts is the greatest gimmick of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think there has been more T-shirts sold. The Slapnuts T-shirts, they always...
I still see them. I still see them. You go outside, you will still see Slapnut T-shirts.
You see them at the mall.
Yeah.
You see them at church.
Proud.
You see them at funerals. You see them everywhere.
And people are proudly wearing them at church and funerals.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. You see them at black tie affairs. You see them at fundraisers, ballroom dance. I mean, everywhere.
The Slapnuts that looks like the black tie... that looks like a tuxedo with Slapnuts written on it. Oh, I love that. I see that everywhere at weddings and funerals.
It's
totally.
High class.
Oh, I saw it at the opera the other day. I saw like 3 or 4 of them. It was amazing. Old men wearing these Slapnuts tuxedo shirts. It was the height of class.
So, yeah, it was surprising to see Jarrett lose, of course. I mean, I every time that happens... but yeah, it seemed to be a pretty quick match. Scissor Me Timbers, Bowen got the pin. The Guns came out with their titles. So I think it was our first time seeing them with the gold. What a great sight that was. I know when AEW was formed, I was hoping a couple of green, wrestlers, kids could win the titles over teams like the Young Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, the Best Friends. Just because of who they are, not what they do in the ring. So,
nepotism. That's totally about nepotism. Yeah. AEW was founded on nepotism. That's totally
right.
The basis of their tag division. I agree. That's why the Guns having it is the best choice.
So I don't know that there's much else to say here. I mean, this didn't really move anything along. The Acclaimed is still going to get their shot at the Guns. I don't know why Orange Cassidy was involved, although, Orange did have a couple spots that popped the crowd, doing the Orange Cassidy kicks when, the guy was lifted up for the Scissor Me Timbers.
Well, I know that...
got that crazy Laredo crowd going, so...
So, first of all, the crowd was super hot for this absolute lukewarm, tepid bath of a show. I really was not impressed with it overall, but the crowd was still really into it. Now, they started off kind of slow, but I'm going to get into exactly how MJF got him revved up. I love having the Fight TV stream because holy crap, what he pulled off. Now, why was Orange Cassidy involved? Because Jeff Jarrett and Sanjay Dutt and those guys are involved with the Best Friends. The question we should be asking is, why the fuck was the Acclaimed in a comedy match a week after losing the belts when they should be just having a good tag match, beating whoever it was. Yes, they won, but beating whoever it was in a really solid match, and then showing why they are the best tag champs and why they deserve a rematch. Instead, we got this comedy match. That's why Orange Cassidy was in it. That's his position. I love him for it. Danhausen was involved. They did Orange Cassidy versus Satnam. They sort of teased it. That's really all this was, and yet they still had to put the Ass Boys and Billy Gunn in it. And I don't really get why they were involved in the opening comedy match. Let them just have a segment where they come out and talk shit if you're not going to give them a match.
It made about as much sense as last week when the Acclaim lost, was having them, standing in the ring kind of with their shoulders shrugged, and then all of a sudden their music hits. Like, yay, the Acclaimed music is playing. Congratulations, guys, you lost the tag titles to a couple scrubs. Let's play your song and celebrate your loss with the fans.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. There have been a few missteps, as it were, in 2023. Tony's having a rough beginning to this year. Speaking of rough beginning to the year, the very next match didn't even get started for the first couple of minutes as Roosh and Preston Vance, El Perro Negro. Perro Negro? Black Dog? Sure. It's supposed to be dangerous dog, but whatever. I don't know how to say it. So I'm calling him Perro Negro. He's the black dog now. Okay. And El Toro Blanco, who's the white bull. So that makes sense. They jumped Claudio and Mox on the way to the ring and just started beating them up. And then they finally got into the ring and the match started. But it was a tornado match, so there wasn't really much of a sense to the bell ringing anyways.
Right. It was a Texas tornado outside of the ring, and then it was a Texas tornado inside the ring. There was no tags.
There was nothing. There was just a lot of blood because, of course, it was a Moxley match. But at the same time, something that I noticed is that Preston Vance held his own. We already knew that Claudio is world-class, Mox is world-class. We had that. The last couple of matches, Roosh has really impressed the hell out of myself, as well as most of the AEW audience, I think.
I think also the AEW locker room.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's put on a great show of exactly what type of person and wrestler he is. And as a result, just by being in a match with these three guys, Preston Vance was lifted up. Now, the last time they met, Jon Moxley just obliterated Preston. But this time, Preston held his own a little bit. So
yeah, it was kind of the opposite of Hangman Page and Kip Sabian. But we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah. But I think that it showed a little bit of growth from Vance. It showed that he's sort of equal in a match against all these guys. And that, he held his own. Roosh, of course, has already been badass. Love everything he does. He's a great wrestler. And he's got a great personality, hot wife. And apparently backstage is well liked. What's not to like about this guy? And then he's teamed up with Preston, who has had a little bit more interest now that he broke away from Dark Order and lost the mask. So, good on them. They're elevating them. This was a good tag match. Bloody, hard-hitting. This is the type of shit we like. So, more of this, please. More of Las Facción Ignoble, as well as the Blackpool Combat Club. Let's just see more of this. And what'd you think?
I thought it was a pretty good, hard-hitting match. It's good to see Roosh again. Roosh and Mox and Claudio going at it was good. Vance, I think this elevated him a little bit. I think he's working his way up to becoming a serious part of the roster. He has a great look, and he's they're moving him along slowly, which I think is the best approach. I liked when Jose, the assistant, came in. I believe it was Cesaro he smashed with a pretty hard-looking chair shot And then Wheeler Yuta ran out to even up the odds.
Yeah, that was nice. That was a
the,
nice little addition.
Yeah, and then Claudio just destroyed Roosh with the chain. Like there were some serious chain shots. Like I don't think I've seen anyone get hit with a chain so hard since Hercules Hernandez beat the shit out of Billy Jack Haynes at WrestleMania 3 with the chain, and just bloodied him, turned him into a bloody mess.
It's quite the callback. That's impressive.
Roosh was just spilling blood after that. Wait, or was it Did I just blow that whole thing? Was it Vance that was bleeding from the chain shots and not Roosh?
Yeah, it was Vance.
It was Vance.
He was bleeding.
So let's roll it back. Claudio destroyed Roosh with the. My notes. I have it written down wrong in my notes.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Even though I remember. So yeah, Preston Vance was bleeding out a lot from those chain shots.
He was.
It was great stuff. And then I loved the finish where Mox had the chain and he did the hammer elbows into the Juju Katame or the cross arm breaker with the chain to get the win.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a pretty decent match. It was a filler match. I didn't feel like there was much build up for why these guys would have a Texas Tornado match, besides whatever happened last week, and that's going to be forgotten come next week. That's pretty much the segment.
I think they're building a little bit of program between Claudio and Roosh for the ROH title.
That makes sense.
And I think that's what they're building with the BCC. I think that's what this tag match was ultimately about. Even though they didn't talk a lot about it, obviously they talked about Claudio being the ROH champion and Roosh being a former champion. So I think that's the through. And then, of course, you bring in Preston and Mox, and they have history. So I think the setup for the tag match is in there. I think they might have done a better job in the announce team in talking about some of those threads. And I think they did okay with it. And maybe you just missed it because you were watching it on double speed.
Yeah. Well, I was watching it live last night, but there were other things going on.
Yeah.
So I had to rewatch it. Due to wedding planning stuff, so
there you go.
So
and
yeah, it is what it is.
That's a little bit more important. But then
I don't know about that. There's priorities, and AEW is up there as a priority.
Well, let's be honest.
You can always get remarried if it doesn't work out. But I mean, if you miss an AEW show and you don't get a chance to do your podcast, that's something you could never get back.
You can't not support Jeff Jarrett.
Right.
You have to be there for Jeff and Satnam. So I get it. Your wife your soon to be your fiance wife can just wait. She can just wait.
Yes, she can.
Absolutely.
She can wait.
I believe the next segment was Paige
but you don't forget about that merciless attack as Hangman Page was curious. So he came out of the dressing room to watch,
sidewards.
In the aisle.
Sidewards.
What's that?
He had to stand sidewards and kind of look at the TV while he was facing another direction, because I don't know why, but wrestlers can't just look at a TV straight on.
That's right. You have to look big for the camera.
Is that okay?
So Butcher and the Blade attacked him, and then Sabian delivered probably the most devastating big boot I've seen in my entire life.
Oh, sure. He's a giant. He's a giant of a man.
Out. So that big boot laid Hangman out. And that big boot apparently was so powerful that we weren't sure if Hangman was going to be able to go in an hour.
Well, I
don't know.
I mean, first of all, you got to look at Kip Sabian and wonder just how big his foot is. He probably wears, a size 16, 17? He's got to have the largest foot in all of wrestling. All the world.
He has a pretty large head, too, because he needed that big box to go over his head for like 3 years.
Well, I think the box was constraining him. I think it was holding him back. So when he took the box off, he's actually getting a bigger head to go along with his big feet. So, I think that foot bomb that he gave him just really knocked him out. And I think just reawakened the concussion, I think, was the issue. So, in typical fashion, like a good movie, he just shook his head, got the cobwebs out, and he's good to go.
So just I mean, that might have been a trigger warning what we were just talking about with Kip Sabian's big boot. So just so that our fans listening right now know, Hangman Page was okay. He was able to wrestle, and as far as we know, he's not in the hospital or undergoing any medical issues right now as a result of this attack. Just in case, I don't want to scare anybody or stress anyone out.
As far as we know, he's not in any local medical facility or any distant medical facility.
Right.
So,
right.
He's prayers, but he's not in the hospital as far as we know.
As far as we know. So that takes us to the what the angry Twitter crowd wants JR's permanent role in AEW to be, a JR sit-down interview with Wardlow. What did you think of the Wardlow story?
JR in a sit-down interview is always gold. So overall, I think it was a good opportunity for Wardlow to maybe move away from Wardlow's world. Maybe move away from that character into something new. And that's sort of the way they presented it, was they gave a real personal reason why Wardlow had long hair. And that Joe knew. And that this is what he took away on purpose. So I think they played into that well. It told a pretty good story. And I think it might give Wardlow an opportunity to go a slightly different direction, remold his character, and maybe generate a little bit of that connection again.
It was a pretty touching story.
Mm-hmm.
In all seriousness, getting separated from your father when you're 8 years old has to suck. But it was awesome that Wardlow was able to get back in touch with him. And then, unfortunately, as the story goes, shortly after that, he was diagnosed with stage 4, his father passed shortly after the diagnosis. However, he was able to see Wardlow go out and fight in an indie show. So I thought that was pretty touching. And it was a new side of Wardlow that we hadn't seen before. It humanized the monster. Mm-hmm. And I think I'll see Wardlow a little differently now because of that. And I hope his character takes more of an intellectual angle as opposed to just being a beast. Because we've had a million beasts in wrestling, and they're all kind of the same. We don't need just some Ultimate Warrior guy running out and doing 800 power bombs and then leaving. Not. I guess it's kind of an insult to Wardlow to compare him to Ultimate Warrior from that standpoint, because Wardlow is so much more athletic with all of his senton dives off the top rope and doing stuff off the cage and so on. But it was a side of Wardlow we didn't see. This definitely raises my interest in the Wardlow versus Joe match at Revolution a lot. So Wardlow should come out and be fighting on a different level than he has in the past, based on this being his first, second personal story. He was kind of, MJF's hired sidekick. So there was definitely some story there, but this one is definitely interesting with Joe, and I'm looking forward to their match at Revolution for sure.
Yeah, the story here is growing. It's a good through, as you mentioned with MJF, that really had a blood feud sort of feel, but it was overshadowed by everything that happened with MJF. This gives him an opportunity to sort of build himself up, build a character that isn't just MJF's puppet or, the unbeatable monster. Now he's coming in. He's got a reason. Hopefully that'll be a really good match with Joe and help cement him again. He doesn't even have to win, as we've seen, in order for this to be a good character building match. I don't want Joe to win, I don't want Wardlow to win. I want Joe to keep it. Even if Joe wins by DQ and keeps the title, I want to keep the King of All Television the way it is. So let's go, Joe. Hopefully Wardlow can keep his momentum even with a big loss.
Yeah, I think Wardlow needs to win here, and I think Joe needs to go to ROH. But Joe has grown on me. So if he doesn't, I'm not going to be as, I guess I should say, disappointed about it as I was, say, a couple months ago when Joe was getting pushed on AEW. But there's still a part of me that just would rather see Joe go to ROH. But that's just me. So
there you go. And speaking of ROH, the very next match was a complete ROH in AEW. now that Josh Woods and Mark Briscoe are both officially AEW matchup. With Briscoe going against quite an old opponent in Josh Woods. He knows him very, very well. It was obvious in the match. Briscoe, of course, is on a massive push on AEW TV in honor of his brother. And this went, few minutes, and Froggy Bow for the win. Mark Briscoe again improves and proves, not improves, again proves why he and his brother should have been on television a long time ago, regardless of what people said about him. I'm impressed. I don't mind him. He's pretty good.
Yeah, decent match. Some cool spots. I like the Death Valley driver he did. It's almost like a springboard Death Valley driver, and then he lands on his feet after he does it.
It's very similar to the way Fit Finlay used to do a roll through, like get him in a Samoan drop position, and then he would roll forward and then land on his feet. And this one just sort of rolling sideward into a Death Valley driver that he rolls through onto his feet. So it's very similar to what Fit Finlay used to do. I don't know what they used to call that.
It's like the Kenny you cannot escape move, where the rolling fireman's carry into the backflip off the second rope. Mark did attempt the J Driller. I was surprised he didn't win with the J Driller as his finish, but maybe he'll win his next match with it. We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
He got to use it. He got to use his own finisher.
Right. But he did not use the J Driller.
Right.
Tiger Driver 98. So after the show, the graphic was released by AEW that Mark Briscoe is All Elite. So Briscoe has an AEW contract now. So it's not just an ROH deal. He has an AEW deal. So he is part of the Elite family. And Mark, if you happen to be listening, you are also welcome to join. Now that you're in AEW, feel free to join us as an Elite Mark on our podcast anytime. I'll text you my number after the show for if you want some instructions on how to join in.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening. Absolutely. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Is.
I don't see why he wouldn't.
I mean, exactly. Why wouldn't he be listening?
But yeah, it was a good match. It was a hard-hitting match. Briscoe again shows that he's a good wrestler against somebody who knows him well, Josh Woods. Woods is growing on me. I again, being paired with Nice, being paired with Smart Mark Sterling, that
a rough assignment.
That does not help Josh in the least. I think he was doing better when he was teamed up with JD, what's his name from the Workhorsemen.
Yeah.
But okay, so this is where he's at. He had a good match. Hopefully he can continue to improve. I think he's the best man out of the trio. Smart Mark has his spot as the wrestling lawyer in AEW, but as a manager, he's really dropped people into the drizzling shits, and I don't think Tony Nese is getting any value out of having him as a manager at all.
No, I think Tony Nese is pretty talented. He can do amazing stuff in the ring. He isn't really allowed to show off his in-ring skills at this point in his career because he's kind of just a comedy jobber being teamed with Sterling. And I think it's unfortunate. I remember when I first saw Nese in NXT, I'm like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. I remember watching a match with him against Kenny back in the day, and he could put on a really good show in the ring, but for whatever reason, he's just relegated to like comedy stuff, and I don't know. I guess it is what it is.
Maybe he'll have an opportunity in the future, but
maybe. So
the next segment was MJF, and the best part.
We're skipping. Renee Paquette.
I did not
had a sit down with Adam Cole. You probably don't remember it because it was a whole lot of nothing. I think the only thing significant in this sit down was Adam Cole talking about some of the symptoms he had, how even just driving around in his car, he would have to pull over and he would puke because of the concussion symptoms, or that if you held your finger out and you asked him to follow your finger with your eye, like instead of going from right to left, his one eye would start going up and down. So that's some kind of scary shit. We don't have a whole lot of details on what he went through, but that kind of sheds a little more light on it. The only other reference I recall to it is CM Punk talking about it at the Brawl Out, the media scrum where Punk decided that he was losing his mind. But he did mention how Adam Cole was in rough shape at that media scrum, and I don't think we had really known anything at that point. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Adam Cole is going to have in store for. I'm assuming he's going to fight a Revolution, but he's keeping that low key right now. He would not reveal to Renee who his opponent. Yeah. So we could play a guessing game and see who that is, or we could move on to the MGF segment that those on Fight TV got a nice firsthand look at.
So I will tell you that Adam Cole is not saying who it was. He says he's got several people lined up. Cool. Yes, those symptoms were scary as hell. I hope that he's well past them and that he doesn't get it ever again, because he is a good wrestler. He's got an amazing connection to the people. And I don't want to see him relegated to AEW games forever. Now, as far as the MJF segment, before they came back from television, while they were on break, MJF came out and he just went at it. Now, he did a couple of things that were really kind of mean. First, you have it written out here, don't you? There it is.
Yeah, I can walk through the segment if you'd like.
Hold on. No, he threw gum at somebody, so that was good.
Yep.
He went for a kiss and then flipped her off. And then,
no, he flipped off her boyfriend, which was even more awesome.
That was what it was. And then a dude wanted to do a picture with him.
A selfie,
Took the picture with him, then slapped the phone to the ground, took somebody's popcorn, threw it in their face, took somebody's drink, threw it in their face. I mean, it was working. And then on the microphone, he's like, shut the fuck up. What are you going to do? You can't do shit. We're not on television. Just started to go at him about how basically they couldn't do shit. Again, because it wasn't on television, but it was on Fight TV, I got to hear it all. But in picture, you saw he was talking. You didn't see what it was, but it was pretty awesome. It was a pretty incredible job of riling up the crowd. Yeah, that's what he said.
Hey, Krillin, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, guys. What's up?
Welcome.
What's going on?
We just got to the MJF segment.
That reminds me, last week when they were in El Paso and there was that woman that wanted her breast signed, and he told her, like, nope, if you guys don't have a Sharpie, I won't do it. They have a Sharpie. He walks over. She pulls out her breast after he tells her to whip him out. She does, and he just walks away with the Sharpie. I thought he actually stole that guy's phone. I could have sworn he did take somebody's phone and walked away with it.
He did. He then threw it to the ground.
Yeah, I couldn't tell for sure on camera, but I read somewhere else where after he took it, he just kind of dropped it on the ground, on the padded ground outside the ring area.
Yeah,
so it probably didn't break. But
you could see it on
security probably had to dig that up for him.
You could see that on the Fight TV feed. You could see it on the feed.
Like I said, at least he was nice enough to drop it on the padded ground. He could have been a dick. He could have just actually dropped it on the concrete, which then again, he'd probably be sued for that one. So would AEW. So.
Or he could have just kept it.
Exactly. Just kept the phone and just start taking pictures and sending texts like, "Hey, mom, fuck you," as the guy.
Right.
Like, that would be the ultimate heel thing. Just take somebody's phone and just start texting people just the most fucked up and off-colored shit possible and getting them to be hated by everybody.
Fortunately, he didn't.
He could have called CM Punk like The Rock did on that one show.
Imagine that. He just calls CM Punk on somebody else's phone. "Hey, who the hell is this? How do you have my number?" Hey, Punky Brewster, it's Max. Go fuck yourself. And that's it.
That would have been the greatest thing ever.
It could have been.
Exactly.
It could have been.
Speaking of which.
But instead. What?
MJF did tease best in the world during this segment.
He did. He brought it up during this segment. He said that Danielson thinks he's the best in the world, but he's not, or whatever.
Is this a Punk tease for him coming back?
That's what people are hoping. Some people are hoping.
I don't know if you guys are hoping for it or not. I mean,
I am not.
It's hard.
Scott is.
Yeah, I am, and I'm not. I am because ultimately I'm still a Punk fan, and I'd
Same
like
here.
I'd like to see what he could do in bringing some eyes to the product and really helping them long term be a challenge to WWE.
And then
However,
also team up against Kenny Omega. That would be a good ass match too.
I mean, there's some incredible matches. I'd love to see him against Omega one-on-one. I'd love to see him against a few of the other people, but
I mean, can you imagine Punk versus Satnam Singh or Jeff Jarrett? I mean, it would be
well, Punk versus Jeff Jarrett
possibly
is
an 8-star match.
It is a dream match. Don't get me wrong. Jeff Jarrett versus Punk is a dream match, and Satnam Singh would learn more in that one match than any other match they could possibly put him in. So don't underestimate the player coach. He's that good.
Right.
But
right.
at the
Why
same
is that his Twitter handle?
Because he's a player coach. But at the same time, I know what sort of effect he's had backstage, and I worry that it's just a time bomb waiting to go off.
He seems more like a play-a-hater than a play-a-coach, if you ask me.
Well, he's a wannabe player coach, but he is a player poisoner. He is not good backstage. And I don't know that his positives outweigh his negatives.
Exactly, and that's what Tony Khan and the other executives have got to be looking at. Like, is he actually worth keeping, or is he good enough to bring back? Because like how somebody said on Twitter, I saw this, I think it might have been like the other day. All it would take is for one young wrestler backstage not to shake CM Punk's hand, for him to flip the fuck out, go out on a tangent, and go, I'm not giving the respect I deserve around here because some young fucking guy, some young little buck couldn't shake my damn hand. He thinks he's better than me. You're not better than me. I'm CM Punk. I'm straight edge, damn it. It's like,
but
okay,
see,
dude,
there's a subtle difference. Now that he's been called out for that sort of action, if he were to come back, say Thunder Rosa has laid the road down for how you come back. You go to the locker room, you say your mea culpas, you apologize, you say it's going to be different this time, just like every time you do it, you're going to apologize and say it'll be different. And then maybe he is actually different. Maybe he actually goes in and has a different attitude and actually takes the time to be that guy.
It's possible. He might have that kind of restraint where he can control his bipolar disorder or whatever the problem is. But Thunder Rosa, I'm glad you brought up Thunder Rosa, because the reports came out like after Dynamite that Thunder Rosa basically came in and apologized to the locker room for her behavior and for sandbagging people, shit that everyone saw and called out on Twitter. And then she made fun of and mocked any fans that oh, you guys don't know what you're talking about, you bunch of marks. But it kind of makes me wonder, was her conduct so fucked up backstage that Tony was just like, all right, you're done. You're going to go out on injury and, you can come back when you figure your shit out. And maybe it took her this long to say, yeah, I have to come back and I have to apologize to people and I have to have a better attitude. And so now Tony's allowing her to come back in. Or was there a legit injury to go along with this as well? Like, what's the deal?
I think she was really injured.
That she was everywhere. Even though she was injured, she was running around all over the place. To her indie show, the meet and greets, interviews. It's like, you're injured. Shouldn't you be resting and not just sitting there going, "Hey guys, what's up? Hi, it's Thunder Rosa. I'm injured, but I'm gonna be here because I'm needed." Are you really though? You're doing your YouTube channel. I don't know how injured you are. So I agree with your theory that maybe that's what the heck happened. So I'm guessing that based on all the rumors and reports, I'm guessing that Ivelisse might have actually been vindicated with this one. She might be sitting there going on Twitter saying, "See, I told you guys that Thunder Rosa was evil."
Yeah.
At the same time, she's a shit starter too. So
right.
Okay, so first of all, Ivelisse, let's not get into her. Thunder Rosa, I agree. Maybe she was sandbagging. Maybe she got put on a leave for a while. Maybe right around the time that Toni Storm was announced as the full-time real champion. That was about the time that Thunder Rosa was like, well, I could have come back, but instead I'm going on a 6-month leave of absence.
/rehab,
who knows? And then she comes back.
/ soul searching.
Maybe. And then she does her mea culpas, apologizes. I think the way they've phrased it where she returned, I think she was quote unquote gone from the company for a while. I think she was put on some sort of leave and now she's ready to come back. But no, it's probationary. You're going to do announcing for a little while until you can prove you can mix with people. And then you can come back and work full time. Maybe that's the path CM Punk takes. Comes in, apologizes. Andrade can fuck himself. So Punk comes in, he says his apologies, he shakes some hands, he kisses some asses, he does Dark and Elevation, or maybe just Elevation, does some announcing for 2, 3, 4 months, and then
he jobs to Kenny, he jobs to Nick, he jobs to Matt, he jobs to Hangman, he jobs to Brandon Cutler, and finally he jobs to Nakazawa, and then, and only then, do they let him, officially come back?
No. See, once he starts wrestling, once he starts wrestling, then he's back. It doesn't matter if he loses or not. So when he comes back, first he loses to Nakazawa, then he loses to Cutler, then he loses to Matt, Nick, Kenny, all the way up the chain. But by the time he wrestles Kenny, he's basically world championship material again. Even though he's lost the whole time.
He needs to lose to make it right to me.
JJ.
Joey Ryan.
Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. No.
Sure.
No, God, dude.
Just kidding. I didn't mean it. I meant to say Fat Ass Masa. Fat Ass Masa. He jobs Masa as the last person.
We don't mention that name. We don't talk about him. Much like Bruno, we do not talk about Joey Ryan because, God, that guy is the worst human being alive.
So no, really, I don't. Yeah, don't talk about Bruno. It's a reference to
Encanto. If you've ever seen it, I've never seen it. It was just a meme that was just running around the internet because nobody would stop talking about it so much.
Let it go.
All right, I'll follow up on that later.
No, that's another. Let it go's another meme from a movie.
Yeah, Frozen.
Yeah. See, so
yeah.
So that's
Ask Dean about it. He knows everything about Disney.
Ask who?
Dean from the AEW Games Discord.
That's all right. Yeah.
Speaking of Discord, now's a good time. Speaking of Discord, now's a great time to bring up the fact that if you want to join the Elite Mark Order Discord, the link is in the description down below. You can also go to EliteMarkOrder.com, click on the Join Us Now, and join us right in the Discord. Because, these sort of stellar conversations about Frozen and Encanto are what you'll find every day in the Elite Mark Order Discord. Hey, maybe we should move on to the next segment before we disrail our podcast entirely.
Exactly.
So we were in the middle of the MJF segment where he came out. Those on Fight TV got to see the full force of his entrance, where he fucked with the audience. And then MJF was talking some smack, and Chris Daniels came out. MJF gave him the ball shot. Daniel Bryan came out and broke it up. I think it was kind of low impact for, maybe if someone was a big Chris Daniels fan and watched him feud with Bryan back in the day, it might have been more exciting for them. But to me, it was kind of like, it was probably one of MJF's weakest segments, other than which he made up for, I think, with the entrance. But it was one of his weakest in-ring segments on the mic, I think, that he's brought for us.
And it was mostly because it was Christopher Daniels, and most people know who he is, but they don't really care. His eye really distracts people. I know it's an injury; it's legit. He got messed up in the eye, and it just doesn't look like it's coming back. He's got to either make it work as part of his character, or he's got to do something about it. I don't know. But he's in the twilight of his career. Nobody really cares. He did a nice retrospective of who Bryan Danielson was and kind of how he became. And for a minute or two, I thought MJF was talking about Regal again, but it turns out he meant Christopher Daniels. So
I thought he was going to bring out like Lance Storm for some reason. It's like, wait, Lance Storm's going to show up?
Maybe.
2 matches together in ROH.
But then he's
Don Callis would have flipped out if Lance Storm showed up.
Probably.
Lance Storm, what the hell are you doing here?
That's not a Canadian accent. You didn't say a boot or stoop. But the thing is, Christopher Daniels talked about Bryan Danielson's going to put your dick in the dirt. And then MJF countered that by actually punching him in the dick. So, a lot of dick reference in this whole segment. And I think that sort of brought the entire segment down as a result.
I mean, are you saying that dick segments are only good when it involves a Danhausen curse?
Well, yes.
Or when it involves wrestlers say that Vince McMahon loves dick. Naming like various wrestlers with the name Dick in it.
Sure. Like Balls Mahoney. Or
Who's got the biggest?
That's AC/DC.
Balls of them all.
Yeah, AC/DC's got the biggest balls of them all. And Balls
That
Mahoney.
was Balls Mahoney.
Of course it was. Of course it was. Who else
I
would
got to
use
see a
that?
Balls Mahoney match in the ECW arena in Philly where he lit his hand on fire.
Jesus.
He poured Balls Mahoney. He poured lighter fluid all over his hand and all over his arm. He lit his fist on fire, punched a guy in the face, knocked his ass out, and then pinned him for the win. That's my favorite Balls Mahoney moment.
You know who should have that done to him? The Gun Club, because they were the next segment. When they came out.
Great segue.
Thank you. And they tried to show that they somehow deserve these tag team championships. And they're like, welcome to the Gun Show.
You know what I think here? Not to keep interrupting, but I think the Guns lifted that whole segment from our podcast last week, because every statement, it was almost a bullet point of what we said last week. They're green, they have no experience. It's because their dad works for the company. Word for word.
That's because they're all true.
Totally didn't watch it. It's not even a lie. Like
where's the lie?
Getting ready to say that. You read my mind.
Well, you set it up well.
What did Bobby Fish say?
He said, where's the
lie thing.
Okay.
So, no, seriously, they literally lifted everything that we said, because not only is it true, but we are the #1 podcast in all of sports and entertainment.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. There's no argument there.
Of course. Why would you? We are the Elite Mark Order. But so
exactly.
that they had their little segment, which was fantastic, which led us right into Jungle Boy Jack Perry versus the Machine Brian Cage, which was another let me get my shit in and then I'm going to lose match from Brian Cage.
That's just Brian Cage's gimmick at this point. He has no gimmick, no charisma, no personality. Just, hey, let me get my shit in. That's it.
And then lose.
I don't know what Chris Kanyon saw in him, honestly. Chris Kanyon was a great wrestler. He's a great man. I really hate the fact that he's gone. But again, what did Chris Kanyon see in him?
Probably himself. He probably saw himself in Kanyon, inserted into. Never mind.
So this was a short match. It was only 7.5 minutes. So it was kind of pointless, I think, to have on the show. But I guess it provided to help get Jungle Boy back into the singles stage, to build him up a little more as a singles guy. And then of course, we'll talk about who came out and attacked him after the match. But I liked the match. I think for a 7-minute match, it was good. Brian Cage did this Alabama slammer into a sit-out powerbomb, which I thought was totally sick. And then he did a freaking buckle bomb into an F5. And then, and I've never seen this before, Brian Cage was in the middle of the ropes, and he grabbed Jungle Boy, and he climbed up on the second rope, and he was going to superplex Jungle Boy's ass off the second rope to the floor to the outside. And I was just like, I wish he was fighting Darby right now, because Darby would fucking work this.
Yep, he would have done it.
This is a move I've always wanted to see. So I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky someday, and we'll see Brian Cage, superplex Darby to the outside. But yeah, it didn't happen. Jungle Boy had an interesting finisher here. Crucifix bomb, which was out of a counter, which was pretty sharp, into a lariat / hidden blade. They call it an elbow to the back of Brian Cage's head, and I think we might see Jungle Boy using this more. I think he's stealing from Will Ospreay here. But I thought it was more of a...
Or Forbidden Door, confirmed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then into the... Oh, no problem. And then, he did the hidden blade into the inside cradle and got the win. But I just thought there was some good stuff here. And, I enjoy watching Brian Cage fight. He always pulls out some crazy entertaining shit. And I think Cage match was kind of harsh on this match, giving it a 5.2. It was better than that. It's a 7-minute filler match. I mean, come on. It was at least a 6.2.
it was a very by the books kind of match for these guys. Cage was the big guy, Perry was the small guy, and they each got their stuff in. Jack Perry got to show off a little bit. He got the big win at the end. It was an okay match. The reason why it didn't get rated that high is because AEW fans have a huge bias towards things like Takeshita versus Bryan Danielson. So when you compare those, yeah, this was a 4.5 match. Absolutely. It wasn't great. By comparing to other AEW matches, this was okay. You put this on WWE, it's match of the night.
You're right.
So
I think even lying there.
People were down on this show, so I think all these scores are skewed into the negative here. If we're looking at the ratings, because people were pissed off because the whole show in general was filler matches, and we've been spoiled the last 3 or 4 weeks with some ridiculous 4.5 star matches. And this show on paper, not one match had any chance of coming close to any of those. So, Tony is getting the ratings he deserves here. Another thing that I think was spurring these low ratings is Tony apparently said in an interview that the last 3 shows of Dynamite were the top 3 rated shows in the history of wrestling on television. So I think this was kind of a backlash.
Not just that, which, by the way, not just that, but which, by the way, Tony, shut the hell up. But he also needs to stop announcing every match. I like it. It's nice where we can predict it. It was a good little slap in the face for WWE when every week they were tearing up all of their matches and everything and rewriting it the day of every week consistently. But at this point, WWE's not doing that. You need to stop announcing every match and give a little bit of that, hey, what's going to happen this week energy.
Right.
Because when you look at it, this was a very weak, by-the-books match. Not just match, the whole card was just sort of tepid. So that's what he got.
Really disappointing.
Tepid ratings. So I think that really played into it, was the fact that there aren't a lot of surprises in the actual matches right now. And so I think he needs to back off of that announcement. Speaking of unannouncements, Christian Cage came out at the end. He gave Jack Perry the unprettier, the kill switch, right into the
spraying with mace.
Yeah, he did spray him with mace. That's true. And then right into the entrance, so that was extra painful because his head went right into the steel. There's no other way to take that. But yeah, you maced
Jungle
him.
Boy was doing his best Leo Rush impression
of
breaking his face on the
that's true.
On the stage.
He did get maced, and then of course, Cage, Christian Cage, not Brian Cage. Christian Cage came out, revealed that he was Brian Cage's brother, and that his arm was fully functional.
Wait, I thought we established last week that Christian was Brian Cage's father.
Right. We had already assumed that, but Cage came out and confirmed not only is he's his father and his brother.
So this is some Sweet Home Alabama shit, is what you're telling me.
Well, right. The family tree doesn't branch.
Yeah. Well, Christian is Canadian, so it's pretty far from Alabama. But you never know what goes on in those northern Canadian provinces. So
they're just as backwater. They're just as backwater, I assure you. Speaking of backwater, the Acclaim got the next segment where they got to come announce that they were going to be in the tag match, where there's going to be a battle royal to determine one team, and then a casino battle royal to how's that different from the other battle royal? I don't know.
Casino is more like a Royal Rumble, I think, where some teams. Krillin, can you confirm?
It's pretty much just like the regular old casino battle royal. You have all those. Like one deck of card number gets called, and they all come out. So that's pretty much what it's going to be. And then, of course, there's that one team or that one person, the Joker card. Whoever gets drawn, the Joker card comes out. Yeah. So it could be anybody. And it'd actually be interesting to see some, for Forbidden Door wrestlers from New Japan coming out and stepping in and winning.
If they could make it some big surprise names, that would be fantastic. So that way the Revolution would be the Acclaimed versus the Ass Boys versus another team, which hopefully could be a great, big, fantastic surprise. And then a fourth team, possibly even a fifth team, if you think of like FTR coming out of nowhere and just getting some. Maybe they're the Joker in the casino and they get the win. And it's FTR, some other team, and then the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys. Who knows?
With FTR, I'm apprehensive because FTR, remember, they got really fucked up in their match back in December with the Briscoes. I mean, Dax Harwood's walking around with a literal broken ass, so I don't know if he's even recovered yet. Who knows?
I will tell you,
they did require some time off for that. So
can one of our fans Google time to recover from a broken ass? And,
I will tell you from personal experience. In my 20s, I was a Pizza Hut delivery driver, and my friends and I went up to the mountains and played in some snow, and I fell on my ass and broke my coccyx. And I will tell you that as a delivery driver, getting in and out on your ass every day, constantly for hours every day, it never healed. Even now, if I sit too long in the wrong position, my coccyx will hurt. So if you actually stay off of it, much like any broken bone, within 3 or 4 weeks, it's healed up enough that you won't do any permanent damage like I did. Trying to stay off your ass is difficult. But yeah, it takes 3-4 weeks. They should be able to actually wrestle again. So I think they would absolutely be available for Revolution by that point.
Most likely.
So who do we got? They showed the participants in the Battle Royal. And Scott, are you clear on the difference between the casino, which is more like a Royal Rumble, and then the regular Battle Royal?
Right. I'm
okay.
with you.
So they showed pictures. They showed the Best Friends, the Lucha Brothers, which was their first appearance since losing the best of 7, and also Double J and Jay Lethal were shown, and I think there was a couple other teams, Butcher and the Blade, Nice and Josh Woods, it might have been.
Silver and Reynolds, most likely.
Yeah, they did show the Dark Order as well. So I think that lists all the teams. Who do you guys think will win the Battle Royal next week to get a title shot at Revolution?
So
honestly, it's an underwhelming list to me. That I'm just being honest here. Like, there's not really a tag team. Lucha Brothers. You got a point.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking about them.
So it's got to be the Lucha Brothers because they're actually good. Versus the other teams that are all just not top contenders at all. I think the casino match, we're going to have somebody come in as the Joker or as some surprise entrant, and they will be the winners of the casino. Who will that be? I still think it's going to be FTR. That'll be at the actual pay-per-view.
When the Acclaim dropped the comment in the interview that fly them in from the Forbidden Door, it doesn't matter. Like, that was a good hint that someone's could be coming in to the Casino Battle Royal from New Japan. I don't know who that might be, but it's certainly interesting, and we can speculate who that might be.
So you're saying
Khan?
No. I've got it. I know exactly what's going to happen. It's going to be Adam Cole and Jay White.
Adam Cole and Jay White, that'd be a good one.
That's who it's going to be, and that's who's going to win the titles. Because that'll help protect Adam Cole. So Jay White can do a majority of the match. Cole can come in, be participating, not have to take a majority of the hits. And those two together, that's magic.
That
a great
would
tag
be
team.
Fucking sick.
It would be.
That is an awesome idea. That would be incredible. That would raise my interest in AEW right now from about like a 5 or a 6 to like an 8. I think that would be awesome.
All right. Unfortunately, I will need to take a break here because we are about halfway done. We have a long ways to go.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, we can just
you two
go
continue
to a TV break and.
Well, no. You two continue without me.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll be back.
All right.
All right. So up next, we had a segment with the Elite
and Top Flight
Yep.
and AR Fox.
Nick Jackson was palming a basketball, and Kenny Omega was really impressed with that because Kenny couldn't do it. And just the look on Kenny's face as he's like, "How the fuck do you do that, Nick? How do you do it?" And then the interview started, and your boys.
So it's similar to when AR Fox sees Dante Martin doing something insane. He's just completely like, holy fucking shit. And that again, I've said that before. That's something that I love. The fact that AR Fox is impressed by Dante Martin. He's staring at him. He's like, holy fucking shit. Like, how is this kid doing this? Didn't mean to interrupt you again, but that's like pretty much only every time I talk.
Yeah, I have to stop talking so much.
Yeah, it's just me. So
we get the Elite versus Top Flight on Dynamite. My thought is there's two ways this could go. I'm sorry, on Rampage, not Dynamite. So Rampage has a 7 p.m. start time, which they mentioned in the interview, and they called the show. It's going to be Rampage Slam Dunk because it's kind of being circumvented by the NBA All-Star Game. The other thing I'll mention is Brandon Cutler took a ball shot at the end of the interview as he was trying to record it. They threw the basketball right in his groin. So poor Brandon. He shouldn't have left when the Elite, or when Top Flight made the joke about the Elite not having the balls to face him. I did like how when they made that joke at the expense of the Elite not having balls, Kenny started to say something, and Don Callis tried to butt in and say, "Guys, don't waste your time, putting the titles up." But Kenny's like, "Don, I got this." So, yeah. What do you think the possibilities are on Rampage for this 6-man for the trios titles? Once again, Elite and Fox Top Flight and AR Fox against the Elite.
I was just about to say, I don't know how AR Fox is going to team with the Elite when he's teamed up Top Flight, but more likely it's going to be the Elite wins and House of Black comes out, because we did a brief flash of the House of Black during their segment. So that's pretty much teasing that we are going to be seeing them facing off with the Elite. Maybe even a title win for House of Black, because House of Black has really not done much. I think Malachi Black's first little bit in AEW was having to be the next person to face off with Cody Rhodes, and the other two haven't really done much aside from just, have the occasional match where they actually get in some offense and they get their ass handed to them and lose. But I'd like to actually see them win the tag titles. Well, the trios titles, not the tag titles. Let me correct myself on that one.
6-man tag titles.
Yeah, 6-man tag titles. Because, yeah, I'd like to see that.
My first thought was, oh my God, Kenny and the Bucks are going to lose to set up a rubber match at Revolution, and we're going to have to watch these guys fight again. Not that I mind watching them fight. I mean, they're crazy matches, but...
Yeah. People were complaining about that. I'm like, but you guys were watching Orton versus Cena about 5,000 times over on pay-per-view. I don't want to hear it.
So yeah, the House of Black tease was very subtle, and it's funny because I posted about it. I think you had posted about it in the Discord, and then I posted about it again. And then tonight when I rewatched, I didn't even think to look for it, which was kind of crazy. I should have been looking for that, but I missed it. So it was very subtle. And then on Rampage, maybe Jesus, what the hell is their name?
Maybe Julia Hart comes out at the end after Top Flight loses. She stands at the top of the stage, lights go out. House of Black comes, attacks them maybe, or they just do a face-off, and then that's just our tease.
Yeah, so maybe we get House of Black versus the Elite. So it'll be curious to see if they just fight at Revolution, and maybe House of Black wins, and then maybe what I'm hoping is House of Black wins, and they could carry the trios titles, and then Kenny and the Bucks can go on and fight. Kenny can fight in singles programs, and the Bucks can fight in tag programs. The trios thing for them, I think, is played out. I think people just aren't interested in trios matches. If you look at the ratings, they tend to drop when they're 6-man matches versus a singles match will sustain interest a little more. When you look at those viewer counts, and even a tag match will sustain interest a little more. So I do want to see the Elite move away from the trios titles.
Yeah. And then next we have Hangman Adam Page versus Kip Sabian. Deadeye finish after 7 minutes. Great match. Both men getting their offenses. And then the Blackpool Combat Club comes out. Honestly, I really did think they were going to try to recruit Hangman and Moxley saying, you know, Hangman, you're a really tough son of a bitch. I want you to be a part of our group. But instead, he drops a bombshell on us after Dark Order comes out to help Hangman, which, again, I hate this. And I've said it before. Dark Order needs to do more. They can't just be Hangman Adam Page's friend that he remembers like every so often goes, oh yeah, hey guys, I acknowledge you. Hi. By the way, fuck off. I'm gonna go do other shit. That's pretty much what Dark Order is at this point. They went from being one of the best, not one of the best factions, but a great faction full of great wrestlers who are heels, led by Brody Lee, to just being comedic baby faces that are Hangman Page's, best friends that get their ass handed to him. Yeah.
Yep.
They get their ass handed to them by other people. Hangman Page will sometimes, say hi to them, and then that's just it. And then we have the Texas Death Match announced at Revolution, and it's going to be brutal. It's going to be amazing. Hangman Page and Jon Moxley are both bruisers, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think that's what we were all hoping for, was for a gimmick match between Hangman and Mox. What did you think of Uno getting in Mox's face and the announced Uno versus Moxley next week? Do you think the Dark Order will finally get a push and Uno will go over Moxley?
That one's improbable. I don't see Moxley losing to Evil Uno. I don't know why I just almost said Hangman, but then because it was talking a lot about him. But Evil Uno stepping up to the plate and stepping into the face of Jon Moxley and pushing Jon Moxley. That's a big one for him. Because Evil Uno has always been, again, the mouthpiece and just sitting there just, being like cowardly and snivelly, really, just not doing much, and then just getting his ass handed to him because, hey, sake of someone's feuding with Hangman Page when he was champion.
So the odds are kind of stacked against Uno in this match next week. Do you think there's a chance that Uno brings the Creepers back to help even things up?
Oh, God. We don't need them to be called sexy. What the hell were they called again?
The Creepers.
No. I mean, what did they used to call that faction back then? The Dark Order, when they were first around and they had the Creepers.
The
I know they
Dark
called them
Order?
something. Yeah, I know they called the Dark Order something. The fans were calling them something. I can't remember what the hell it was, but
I can't remember.
Fans, if you remember, make sure to leave that in the comments, and we will get back to it on the next episode next week.
Right. Yeah, maybe we'll dedicate the next episode to the Creepers.
Creepers for life, man.
Right.
I'm back, by the way. Did I miss everything?
No, we only just got up to the Kip Sabian versus Hangman Page match.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, we didn't really get that far.
We talked about with the death match being announced at Revolution, and then Uno being announced. Uno's fighting Moxley. So we were wondering, does Uno bring the Creepers back next week against Mox to help even the odds?
He has to. At this point, the Dark Order is so depleted that the only thing that can save them is a horde of creepers that punch poorly.
With Punk being on the shelf and with all the other things going wrong in AEW, I think the Creepers are not only the only things that can save the Dark Order. The Creepers are the only group that can save AEW.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Creeper as the leader, the guy that used to run around doing all those Dark Order commercials. Whatever happened to him?
Wasn't that
who?
The guy with the
recruiter
beard? The guy was actually on camera once or twice.
Yeah.
No idea.
I don't know him.
Near Raven.
You
don't remember that?
He was just the spokesman.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep. I don't know. I always want to ask Uno what happened. Maybe the next time he does a chat on AEW games, I'll ask what happened to that guy.
There you go.
Right.
So,
but Uno never gives a straight answer. So
hopefully,
that's like his signature thing.
Hopefully next week, Uno will have like a great singles match and show people that he's actually a legit wrestler. Because he's not bad. Hopefully, he'll have a good one. I don't think he's going to bleed, but I bet Moxley does.
He might bleed, and I think it's going to be a squash. Uno just is not in Mox's league. So let's move on to Hangman versus Sabian. So back in 2019, at Fight for the Fallen, Hangman fought Sabian, and it was a 19-minute match. And I remember Jim Cornette freaking out. saying Hangman's going to be the next challenger to go against Chris Jericho, for the heavyweight title, and you have him against some jobber like Chris Sabian in a 20-minute match. Krillin, what do you think Jim would say about tonight's match?
He'd freak out about the fact that it was 7 minutes. So, and also the fact that Hangman had to face off with a guy who had a box on his head for several months. Which, again, that was an interesting gimmick. It did get him attention. Kingpin will tell you that it got him a lot of fan attention.
Yes.
Because he was all over the place meeting fans, signing autographs, taking pictures, and just getting over as much as possible with just a single fucking box on his head. Most guys struggle for years to even get over, and there goes Kip Sabian in the crowd with a fucking box over his head, and he gets over with it.
So have you made a box for your Kip Sabian Ringside Collectibles AEW figure?
I do not have Kip Sabian yet. I don't. Kip, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry I have not gotten around to that, but...
Send him a free figure.
Exactly.
You've got dozens laying around, Kip. We know.
Probably has them all stacked up on his shelf, and he just looks at them everyone and goes, Good morning, little Kips.
He might.
I don't want to know what Penelope's doing with all of those.
I was going to say, he and his wife might be using them. I was going to go there. All the little mini Kips running around, one in the swing. Yeah.
So Hangman hit the Deadeye finish in about 7 minutes. It was another throwaway match on the show. Blackpool came out. The Texas Death Match was announced as Kingpin already recapped, and that's set up next week's show. So let's move on from this. Jericho Appreciation Society interview. The big thing for me here, Jake Hager is back, and so is his hat.
Yay.
And we're going to get Ricky Starks versus Daniel Garcia on Rampage. I don't know how excited I am about this. I think this program is awful. I think it's gone from good to bad to horrible. And the fact that this has to drag out for another 3 weeks between Starks and the Jericho Appreciation Society is just bad. What do you guys think?
What happened to Andretti and all his freaking momentum? I thought Action Andretti was like the next big star, right? But here we are. No Andretti. We still got Starks.
It's still 5-on-2.
Still the JAS. Why would I just... It's pointless. I'm not interested, and you're taking some people that I really enjoy watching and giving me less reason to care. This is the storyline that we're begging for, by the way. This is the storylines that we're getting for the JAS. Here's all your sports entertainment storyline. It's one of the most boring segments on TV.
So my question is he currently making fun of Vince McMahon with his shit-ass storylines? Is that what he's doing? Because, I mean, remember, he's made a lot of references to Vince, kind of shit on Vince a lot, so maybe that's what the heck he's doing. I don't know, but a lot of people say that when Jericho feuds with you, you're pretty much just going to be stuck in an endless feud for, like, the next year.
It really hasn't
like the
helped
Eddie Kingston thing last year.
anybody, yeah.
Eddie Kingston versus Jericho throughout the entirety of 2022 for no reason.
His feuds have been long, and other than Max, because Max, nobody has really benefited from feuding long term with the JAS. And I just really hope that we can get over it. I like it as a group, as a concept. Individually, the characters are cool. I still like Jericho, but it's not working. It's not clicking. Something needs to change. It used to be everything he said was golden, a little bit of the bubbly, this, that, and the other thing. And now it's like, dude, enough.
I think they're getting a little overexposed, and they need to do new direction for all of this. I think maybe the whole Danhausen thing that went on the cruise ship that got a ton of traction on Twitter, and take a break from the JAS for a while. Let Starks and Garcia be a tag team that could. We could actually have some incredible matches with Garcia and not Starks. Garcia and Sammy Guevara could be an incredible tag team. And let's change things up. So just to move things along, since it's getting late.
Yep.
Up next, we had the interview. Stokely Hathaway broke his arm and had a cast on.
Isaiah Cassidy randomly moans in his ear.
Yes, Isaiah moaned in his ear, and then we got the announcement that none of us wanted to hear. I mean, recently the Elite was suspended indefinitely for a couple months, and that was horrible. But this news was way worse than that. Hook has been suspended for breaking Stokely's arm, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do, or even if I'm going to watch AEW anymore with Hook being suspended. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll tell you, the suspension was only 1 week. So we only have to miss him this week while it's being investigated. That means if Tony Khan and all his billions of dollars and his large legal investigative team simply watches last week, I think we'll be okay and Hook will be reinstated. As a matter of fact, I almost think Stokely Hathaway is going to have some sort of negative repercussions that's going to lead to a match between Hook and possibly Stokely Hathaway himself at Revolution in the buy-in. On the buy-in.
I was getting ready to say that.
On the buy-in,
Sorry.
yeah. No. You're 100% right, Krill. It's going to be on the buy-in, but I absolutely think that it's going to be Stokely Hathaway versus our boy, the guy you should never mess with, the handsome devil himself, the cold-hearted handsome devil himself, Hook.
Yeah.
I just want to go on the record and say we're being robbed with Hook being suspended. I mean, we're missing out on 2-minute squash matches that are super entertaining, and now we're just not going to get those, and it's really hard for me to accept the fact that Hook might not be on for a week.
Well, we know why the ratings were so low. No Hook.
No Hook.
No Hook.
At the same time, love it.
So
But,
the very next segment was fortunately the very last segment, and it was the big payoff. It was the buildup of a month's worth plus of storyline in the women's division at the top of the heap, where some of the biggest names are colliding over this issue. And it was a Ruby Soho match with Britt Baker and Toni Storm. And the question over everybody's mind was, who is who is Ruby Soho going to align herself with? And the whole match, it went back and forth, right?
It was a huge question, though. I just want to jump in and say I was flabbergasted by who Soho was going to go with. And I think the last time there was this much suspense for me around a wrestling question was who was going to join the Outsiders at Bash in the Beach.
No, you know what? It's almost as big as that, but I was thinking more like, was Sting going to join the NWO?
Oh, okay.
So I see where you're going.
Comparison.
You were
was Paul Roma? Was Paul Roma, Pretty Paul, going to join the Four Horsemen?
Oh man, no! Who was going to join X-Pac and Albert in the X Factor?
Oh, there you go. I think that would be the most apt comparison.
Was Mabel gonna be in the NWO?
Was Mabel the third man?
The fourth man too. He was the third and fourth man, actually. They called him 3/4.
Speaking of Mabel, I posted a GIF of CM Punk trying to give Mabel a go to sleep.
Yeah,
in the chat
you did. And he just flattened out.
Just completely killed Punk. I think that might be what's wrong with Punk. Mabel landed on him and broke his head.
And he's never been right ever since.
Exactly.
Oh, God damn it, King Mabel.
I mean, Mabel did break Undertaker's orbital bone in, I do believe it was 94 or 95, and he did injure Kevin Nash, so it would make sense that he injured CM Punk.
Yes.
All that leads me back to this match, which was just that interesting, where they didn't actually answer anything. So Ruby Soho got the win, and then that was about it for the storyline. It really didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything, and we'd rather talk about wrestling from the 90s than this match.
It wasn't a good match, honestly. I mean, at some points, I love all three women. They're great wrestlers, but it would just look so bad because when they were throwing each other in the ropes, you could just see it was like very lackluster. It's like low, like they were all greener than green.
It got a 3.9 on Cage Match, which is pretty fucking low. It was the lowest rated show of the night, believe it or not, with all these throwaway matches that we had. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I can't say I paid too much attention to the in-ring action. It was disappointing to see Soho to roll up Britt and for Britt to take the loss. Britt is putting people over right now, and I hope there's some payback for her. Maybe the inevitable clash between her and Jamie Hayter. However, with Britt being a heel, there would be a ton of heat on her if she beats and Gigi thrones Hayter. But so this saga, there's no end to it. I don't know what it's leading to. The only thing that could save this fucking storyline is Sasha Banks, and I don't think the chances of that are very high. So I don't know.
Britt is the one person out of those three. I think Toni Storm's a close second. She could take a loss and it won't hurt her at all. Sort of like Takeshita. Tony
and like
is
Jeff Jarrett tonight too.
And Jeff Jarrett, of course, he's never going to take any sort of negative from a loss. That's why you'll never see him lose, because his team will always win. He will always win. Jeff Jarrett for life. But the fact is that Ruby Soho would have hurt if she took the loss. Toni Storm, they're trying to build her and Saraya up, so I think it would have hurt her if she took the loss. Right now, Britt is playing second fiddle to the world champion. She can take a loss and not lose any stature. So, I don't like to see it, but it does happen. Somebody had to lose because you don't do DQ endings in AEW. Krill, what'd you think of the match?
Like I said, it wasn't up to snuff with what normally all three of these women do. I mean, we've seen we've seen Toni Storm in great matches. We've seen Britt Baker in great matches. Soho's improving a lot better than what she used to be, where she just used to look like she just made her debut like a week ago. But we got to comment on the whole L thing. Like, why the hell did they need to spray paint Toni Storm's ass with the L and then hit Britt Baker with it? It did nothing.
It was a stamp. She was stamping it. It was like a bingo stamper. She was stamping her. It was going to leave the impression on her. You just suspend your disbelief, you muggle. This is the spray paint was supposed to transfer over so that the loser was not her butt, but in fact it was Britt. I don't fucking know. It was stupid.
Her ass is still the loser, though.
It was stupid.
But at the end of the day, Juice Robinson's the winner out of everything. Okay, remember that. At the end of the day, he's the winner on that one.
Who?
Juice Robinson. He's with Toni Storm.
Oh, well, good for him.
Yep, that's why I said he's the winner.
Tony didn't win the match though.
Yeah, but either way, he's still the winner at the end.
Well, shit, there's a lot of winners in that company then, because there's a lot of interdating.
So there's actually a Mai Saruga from Choco Pro, who I'm a big fan of, has a match on the most recent AEW Dark number 183, which was released on January 28th. So it was broadcast on the 14th. It was actually broadcast on Valentine's Day. See, you know what?
Yay.
I'm all caught up with Valentine's Day festivities, and I miss a Mai Saruga match because of that. I don't know. It kind of makes you reconsider things, but Mai Saruga does have a match on Dark from earlier this week, so I'm looking forward to going back and watching that.
Fortunately,
as for what else is going on? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, fortunately, it's on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it, and not have to sacrifice any of your Valentine's Day, which probably was spent alone in your mom's basement. But
with my fiance.
Really?
I did.
Did you fix the hole? Where did you patch her back up?
What?
The blow up doll. That's your fiance.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Nah, she popped at the end of the night, so he blew her back up, and she popped again.
Thank you. See,
I
Krill knew. Krill, you were with me. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
So Krillin is my witness. I posted a picture of us at the beach on Valentine's Day. Krillin saw it.
Actually, I saw it.
She looks very real. That's why they call them very real dolls.
Oh, wow.
Hey, this is payback for last week, all right, man? That's payback for last week.
All right. I think we're done here because the match was pointless. The show ended with a wet fart. Ruby did nothing. And
aside from just stand in the middle and scream, "Stop it!"
Right, because we didn't get enough of that with Daddy Ass. We need 2 segments where somebody's torn between 2 people. This is fantastic. JJ for life.